Well, hi folks. We're going to show you everything you need to know about the community sound system. So let me just show you, when you go find this wherever it's being stored, these are all the components. Here they are. These two big things here are the speaker stands. These are 6 different mic stands. This is the important thing. This is the amp and mixer all in one thing. These two things are monitors, which in a lot of cases you won't be using unless you're using this for a concert. These are the speakers, and most cases you'll use both of them, but you'll see tonight we're just going to use one. And this is all the other stuff in here, and I'll go through this and how we're going to pack it. Now we're going to be setting up now for an event that is only going to need 2 microphones. This is for a spelling bee. We're going to have 2 microphones set up here, one a little bit higher than the other so people aren't doing that with the mics. And then we'll have a table mic set over here for the moderator of the program. I always say start with setting up your mic stands first. Find out where you're going to put your amplifier, whether it's going to be back in access to the performers, or if in case of a concert you'll want to have that amplifier out in the audience so somebody will have control of it there. And also, if they're going to be performers, musicians, I always set up the chairs first. So later on, after this event, we're going to come in here and set up for a trio. And I'm going to first set up the 3 chairs on a very tight stage to make sure they have enough room. And I'll set those in kind of a triangle too, because musicians like to be able to see one another. And then I'll arrange the microphone stands, and then I'll stick the mics on, and then I'll run all the wires, okay? So we're going to stop here, and I'm going to set up some of the stuff. Okay, so now we just have really 2 microphone stands and 1 speaker stand. So the speaker stand, things are always kind of funny to, this does the height, and you loosen this thing up and turn it upside down, and you kind of twist it out until there you go, and push it down as much as you can. You can see that's a real sturdy thing, and then tighten it down here. And by the way, don't over tighten it. Don't get, like a heavy big guy tightening that, because then it'll either strip it out or whatever. This can be loose for a minute. And now the fortunate thing, the speaker is even though it's big, it's pretty light. I can't lift a lot, but I can lift this pretty easy. And all you do, this speaker requires this little thing to be raised. This is made for 2 different sizes. This is a really good stand, and this aluminum thing here matches the hole we have. So you can see the hole, just get on there. It's not that hard to do. And really what you should do is place this where you want it first, which would have been a lot easier than me moving it around. And there you go. That's going to be enough. This is just a spelling bee. The reason I'm putting this out here, you always want to have the speaker in front of the microphones. Occasionally somebody can come out here with a microphone. If you're lucky, it's not going to feed back, but keeping the microphones behind the line of speakers is always what you want to do. So now the speaker stands, similar little thing, you loosen up, you pull that down, you open these up. This is really simple. We're going to have 2 of them. So this one will come down, tighten it. Again, don't over tighten anything. A lot of microphone stands have gotten ruined by being over tightened. Having said that, these particular ones, I found, this is the thing that keeps it from doing this. And you generally don't want to be moving this while this is tightened, so get it kind of where you want it, and then tighten it. I have found these to slip a little bit. And then this thing, if you can see it, if you loosen that, then that allows you to push this out like that and get you to whatever you need. And then you tighten that down. Again, don't overdo it. And I could see that would be a pretty good height for maybe a shorter person. And I'll do another one so a taller person is there. And we're doing this for the spelling bee. So, loosen. Wait a minute. Sorry. There we go. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Remember that? And that does that. This is the one that loosens this. Slide that up to get it to where you may want. It's nice to have it about even to get a good balance. If you get it way in the end like that, your heavy microphone will, often make a dip like that, especially if it's hanging straight out. So, usually get some kind of balance if you can. Tighten that. Let's see how I do it. Maybe like this. I want this one a little higher. So maybe I'll do it like this. And you have one more adjustment to make. Like I said, these you do need to crank down just a little bit. And if you loosen this, you can raise it up to whatever you need. So there we got two different heights. And I think we'll just leave it like this, okay? Now, notice over here, this is the amplifier and mixer. And we're going to be running all the wires to this thing. There'll be a wire that goes to the speaker or speakers, and there'll be wires that will go to the microphones. The microphones get plugged in right here, and the speakers get plugged in the back. And I'm going to show you about all this. It's a lot simpler than it looks, and you can get pretty sophisticated in how you mix the sound, especially when you're dealing with the equalizer over here. And we'll talk about that stuff later, okay? So now I'm going to open up the red bag, and that's where all the stuff is. So let's go over to the red bag. Okay. Now this is a thing you really got to pay attention to. And the main thing that's in here are all the wires and all the microphones. And it's really important for consistency that everything get put back in the same place. I'll show you the mics first. They're all in these compartments. There's 6 of them, and they're 2 different styles. This is the main style. This will work for anything, but this is always, you always want to use this for vocals. There's another mic in here, if I can find it. Well, we're doing 3 vocal mics, so we're going to use 3 of these. But if you come across one of these, this is also not a bad vocal mic, but it's actually very much a similar mic, except this is one that works even better for instruments. So if you had a guitar player or banjo or fiddle or something, it'd be nice to use this. We have 2 of these and 4 of these. For this setup, I'm going to use 3 of these. And notice a couple things. When you're done with the mic, it goes back in its own case. And one other thing to notice is that this little stand that comes apart should never leave the microphone. So don't let people just take microphones off. If anybody's going to help you tear this thing down, make sure you instruct them in how to do it. Don't take these things off because they'll get lost. So, and when you're done, just stick them in here. I already have 2 of these. These cases we'll stick back in the case and get them later. And I should have another one of those mics in here. Let's see if I got it here. Nope, that's the other instrument mic. In a pinch, any of these mics could be used for instruments or vocals. Here we go, 3 of those. So I'm going to put these back. Now I don't need anything of that anymore. These bags I might as well just throw back in here so I don't lose them. And there you go. Should always be an extension cord. Please try not to lose this. I'm going to show you all the important cords, and I'm going to lay them out. This little one is the one that you plug the amplifier into. Let's see what else is here. Okay. This, because this has, we call these 1/4-inch plugs. We know these are going to be used for either monitors or speakers. So there's one there. Here's a shorter one. Definitely would be used for a monitor. Here is, okay, here is another one. It looks like it might be a monitor. Looks like a little smaller. And here's another big one like this. And these big ones are generally the ones that are used for the speakers. So those are the two speaker ones. Those will be for monitors. This one's for the amp. And everything else that's in here are going to have these kind of plugs. These are called XLR plugs. And you'll notice a couple things about them. They have colored little rubber bands around here. And they're all different. And that'll come in handy when you try and trace a microphone back to where you plugged it in case you lose track. I always make a little chart and write it down, especially if I'm going to use all the mics for a concert. And there should be 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the only thing left in here are 3 boxes. And this box is a mic stand for a cable. We're going to use one of those tonight. There's 2 others in here, but we'll just use this one. So what we really need is one of these. We'll only need 2 of these, or excuse me, 3 of these. And it doesn't really matter which color, so I'll put 3 of them back. And we're not going to use the monitor, so I'll put these back. And we're only going to use 1 speaker, so I'll put 1 of these back. And we put this away, and we're done with it. So the next thing I do is simply put these mics right onto the mic stands, and I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty easy. It just screws right on, and I'll tell you what I like to do. I loosen this. How about if I do it that way? Yeah. And once you get it, you could spin this around. It's another reason to keep that little holder right onto it. And once you get it, tighten it up a little bit. Make sure this got tightened. Turn it around. Oops, I unscrewed that too much. It does, it's no big deal. Get it to where, that's probably a fairly tall person would do it right there. So put that one in. And before I set up this one, I'll just show you how to set up the little table mic. Why not just keep it in the box? Easy enough. You'll see it, 2 pieces, screws in. And don't over tighten it, you're done. Put that in a safe place. Same thing with the mic. It gets attached right there. And it's always a little hard starting it, but once you do, then you can kind of use it that way. And especially for a table mic like this, it doesn't need to be tight at all. And I think that's all it does. It'll be ready for the speaker. And I'll get the other mic in a minute. Why don't I first start running wires, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is run the speaker wire. And this thing, because it goes onto the back of the amplifier, so it's a little awkward hooking this on if it's really tight like back there. I'll just as soon set this up right away. Now, first thing I want to do is show you about wire management. And this is really important, so please follow this one thing about how to roll up wires. And especially if you get any help with anybody else, everybody always wants to help tear down a system. Don't let them do it unless you show them how to do this, okay? So, imagine you just took this wire off. I'm going to actually show you how to roll it up. Here's the way to not roll it up. If you do this way, guaranteed over time, you could be creating a twist in the wire, and it makes it terrible. In fact, it'll turn it into a mess, kind of like this one, because that's exactly what happened. You don't want to have this happen. There's an easier way of doing it. Okay, you hold it in one hand and you always just slide a hand down and pull it up. Slide down, pull it up. And it actually goes pretty fast, and if you know, it's easy to be consistent. You just do the whole thing. It comes up. And if you, sometimes you get a twist, sometimes you may need to turn it around like that. But it should always just lay nice and flat, and if it lays flat now, that means it's going to lay flat on the floor. You'll avoid twisting wires and breaking them off. And here you go, I have the whole thing. You can make a little smaller loop in that. And then there's a Velcro thing at the top. You know, and the Velcro may have been anywhere, but you could just slide it up, and I bet you can figure it out. There's a good way and a bad way to do it, and that's how you put them away. But now we're actually using them, so we'll take it out. I like to just throw it out like that. Now come over here with that camera and I'll show you where this gets plugged in. You'll notice in the back of the speaker, there are two holes. And I'll tell you, they're done this way because they go in and out. So for instance, if I was going to use both monitors and speakers, I would have to daisy chain the speakers. I would have to send one line into it, send the other line to the other end of this to the amplifier, and then send another cord from here all the way to the other speaker. That would leave a place in the amplifier to run the monitors. See, the amplifier really has two amplifiers in there. If you're not going to use monitors and you're going to use two speakers, I always send the left one to the left speaker and the right one to the right speaker. And it really doesn't matter if you get the rights and lefts mixed up, because we hardly ever pay attention to anything but totally equal speakers. But so once that's in there, make sure the speaker's pointing, you know, kind of out into, you don't want to have it towards the wall or just straight. You can angle it back in a little bit. Now let's follow this all the way to the other end. Now what I like to do is first just find the end, turn it around to the back of this, and you'll see right here there's not a lot of things back here. There are these two holes, and they say main, and main monitor. Well, this means if you're going to run the mains and no monitors, you're going to plug your main in there and another one in there. If you're only going to use one main, it doesn't matter, just put it in there. If you're going to use main or mains and a monitor, you'd put one in here, you'd run another line from that speaker to the other speaker, and this is where you would plug in your monitors. Again, the monitor is there for the stage people to hear themselves, and it's really only important when you're talking about musicians who need to hear themselves. The other thing we're going to plug in while we have it here is the cord that plugs everything in, and this is pretty standard. Don't lose it, but this looks like, you know, everybody has three of these at home at least. These plug in. This is standard for all kind of electronic equipment. And this gets plugged in right here. There's only one way to do it. Yes, one way to do it. And while we're here, and then we simply plug it in. And while we're here, I'm going to show you, this is the on switch right here. And you don't have to really see it. You could just reach around, you know, and find that little switch and turn it on and off. Meanwhile, I'm ready to flip this thing around and get this thing plugged in. In this case, you know, sitting on this kind of awkward chair, I run the wires through the back of the chair. And if I'm lucky, I have a plug right here. Otherwise, I'd be using that blue extension cord. It's just a regular old outlet, and we are plugged in. And I'm going to make, oh, see, it's on. These lights came on. They shouldn't be on, so now you can reach behind and when I find it, there it is by feel. Watch it, light will go off. Yeah, let's keep everything off until we're ready to turn it on. And we don't even need the extension cord, so we'll put that away. Okay, cut it. So I have the mic cords ready to go. I opened them up and laid them out. You'll see I have the mic stands exactly where I want them. In this case, I got a high one and a lower one, and this still may need to be adjusted a little bit. I want you to notice one thing, that the ends of these XLRs, they have either 3 holes or 3 prongs like this, and obviously the holes go to these prongs. So it's pretty easy. You come around, you simply match them up, and they click right in. To get them out, there's a little button there to push and pull them out, and you'll do that when you finish. So that's all you do. I'm going to have one there. I'm going to put one over here. Same thing, match it. And I got one over here ready to go. Oh, wrong end. So, oh no, excuse me, that's that end. Here it is. Here it is right here. Put it in. And then what I do is simply think, how do I run this? Now I start thinking about cord management so people don't trip. In this case, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to think of a pattern that I want. I think I'm going to make sure that the monitor, the main speaker here is going to be conducting the spelling bee. I'll make that the first channel. So if they need to adjust anything, they'll do that. And you come over here and you see number 1. This is all the controls for number 1. And you plug this in. Let's see, is there an up or down? Oh yeah. It just seems they just plug right in. It looks like the bottom of the 3 things in the triangle go to the bottom. And now I look at all these wires that I've got, and I'm going to take these excess wires and I'm going to throw them under here. I really like to keep the things in a good pattern so all the wires are kind of contained and people can see them and not trip over them. Similarly, I'm going to come over here and do the same thing with the speaker wire. The speaker wire is something somebody can trip over, so pull it around here, wrap it around things, get all of the extra stuff, tuck it underneath the amp. Same thing with this. These are like 25 feet long, so we have a lot of room. Plug it in. I'm going to make this, I'll make this one number 2. And maybe, oh, I should have showed you one other thing to do. Come back here to the microphones. What I really do when I put these microphones together, I do it this way. I bring the cable, I wrap it around the stand, just probably 2 times, bring it up over the top. There's always a knob or something to catch it on. Wrap it around here at least once, and then plug it in with a little bit of slack. And that way, nobody's ever going to get caught with a microphone cable hanging down that way. This is already plugged in, so just sort of follow it around here, get it out of the way. Not a lot of extra for that. Do the same thing with this one. Wrap it around. Goes pretty quick. Make sure you have enough slack here. Get it around. Actually, I have a little bit too much. I'll adjust it back the other way. And then take this thing. I'll wrap it around here. Think about how you can do it so people have a very little chance of tripping over anything. And there we go. And you'll notice now, see the different colors? So if you're having any trouble with anything and you're trying to identify a microphone, you'll notice that you'll say, what microphone are you talking into? Oh, the red and blue one? Okay, I know exactly where it is. And if you're doing a big concert and you're using everything, when you might have a chart, and you could also code that right in the chart. So now all the wires are pretty much out of the way, and we are ready to go. Now, we know the speakers are plugged in. We know the microphones are plugged in. What I like to do is, just to keep everything simple, these are the main volume controls, these little black buttons, for each of the microphones. So in other words, one microphone may have less of a volume need than another, and that's why you can adjust these individually. This becomes especially important when there are musical performers. When they're speakers, in this case, we're just going to keep everything simple. You'll also notice there are these blues up here, the top ones. These are all equalizers, so these add treble and bass and mid-range. Again, I'm keeping everything simple. Hardly ever do any of these. These other ones I never use. This is the monitor. In this case, we're not going to be using any monitors, so I'm going to turn them all off. And in this case, the orange ones are for effects. I never use effects, like for reverb and other things. So you notice I keep them off all the time. I also just turn everything else off. It's just good practice. And you can forget all the other stuff. Now, let's see. We have the volume and all the equalization set to just standard, straight up, no extra plus or no extra minus. Over here, there are, these are the volume controls. This is the volume control for the master. This is the volume control for the monitor. Now, we're not using the monitor at all, so that should just stay off. If we were going to use the monitor, we would be testing the monitor volume with this. And by the way, if you ever use the monitors, set up the monitors and test the monitor volume first. When you have it right for the performers, leave it there. Then this is the house. These are the main speakers, and then you bring these up where they need to go. And then you should be good to go. By the way, when I do this, I usually have somebody testing the microphone. I'll have them just talking to the microphone. I'll show you how to do that. I have them just count 1 to 100, and the most even voice they can. And I turn this up until I hear some feedback, and then I pull it back till it doesn't feedback. This is an equalizer, and I keep all these things flat, pretty much flat, but the second one here, I always bring down a little bit. It's just a little trick some guy showed me once because I was having trouble with feedback. He said if there's feedback, that's often the one that'll do it. Feedback is this horrible whine that happens when the sound gets into some kind of cycle coming from the speakers, hitting the microphone, and it just makes a horrible scream noise. One of the nice things about this system, when you do hear feedback, one of these red lights will light up, and that'll tell you which one to pull back until it doesn't do that anymore. Similarly, over here on the speakers, if any one of these are causing too strong of a signal, it's going to send up a red light there. And the green light will light up when you're getting sound into it. So let's see, without talking anything about monitors or, I'm not going to talk now about how to add, say, an iPad that you could have music in a break. You would do that. You would control that right through here. You plug that in, and I don't know if you have to, yes, and then you'd hit the mute, and that would mute all the other stuff. But you could send music, just a little iPod player or even a CD player, portable CD player can make music go off of that, and then you control it with the master volume. I don't think there's other sophisticated stuff we could do with this system, but mostly we are just amplifying whatever thing we need to do. So,
also, if you're using a video recorder and you'd like sound from the video recorder, you could also feed that into these two. And so that would be your sound system.
That's a good idea. So now I'm going to turn on the system and I'm going to check the microphones. Still on? So now I'm going to reach back. I can find this by my hand. The light will go on. Okay. Now, I'm just going to put, let's see, that off. I'm going to put that about halfway up and go talk into a microphone and see if it sounds okay. Okay, I want the mics facing in like this. And what you need to do is to instruct the people to just use a normal voice, and you'll see what happens as I get closer to the mic, as I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, I'm really loud close. What you want to be is probably about 6 inches away from the mic. People get a little scared of mics, but try and just coach them if you need to. If you're eating a mic like this, you can see how I'm even lowering my voice and it's coming out way, way, way loud. So this is about the sweet spot. So I'm testing this mic and see if the other ones are working. Yep, that one seems to work too. Okay, about the same. Yep, here we go. Everything's fine here. So I'd say this whole thing is set up right now. I think it's set up fine for the program tonight. So let's see. The only thing I'm going to do right now is turn the system off, and I'm going to point again to this volume. This is going to be your main volume. You can adjust that. And you know, sometimes, I'll just tell you, sometimes if it seems a little almost feedbacky or, you know, some kind of like weird noises coming out when you're setting things up, what always happens when you have a room full of people, that kind of heals itself. It's like there's so many like soft objects in the room with people that absorbs all the bouncy sound. It's that bouncy sound that causes the bad feedback sound. So for the person tonight, all they got to do is know about this knob right here and this knob back here, which I'm going to turn off, and we're set up. So at the end of this, make sure that you put everything back exactly the way you got it. This stand will have to be deconstructed, put in the little box in the bottom, everything. All the cords that you use, wind them up, be as consistent as you can. Don't wrap them around your elbow. Use the Velcro. Lay them in a consistent order. Make sure you have all the cords. 2 speaker cords. Ooh, what's that noise? Oh, that's a weird noise from something else. It's not our system, sorry. Put all the cords back, compress the mic stands the way you got them, put the speaker on the floor, and fold everything up, and you should be good to go. So I hope that helps, and have fun using the system. Oh, one last thing. There will be somehow packed in the system some record keeping where we'll ask for the name of the person who is checking the system out, the time and the day that they did it, and a place for people to record any issues or problems. For instance, things break. If something breaks, we need to know about it. The things that break most often are the cords. They go bad. A wire gets broken inside and you can't find it. That's going to happen, and we'll need to know about it. So if you also leave your phone number on that form, and we'll have a place for it, we'll be able to talk about it. And then that'll be your responsibility to call whoever it is we put on that line. Probably my name will be, I'm Joe Mirenna. Tim White will put his number on there too, and we'll figure out any problems. So I think that's it. Enjoy.
Thank you.